This is Simon from Game Insight Productions. I'm here with Mr. Frank O'Connor, or Frankie as he's known, the godfather of the Halo universe, formerly of Bungie and now with 343 Industries. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
All right, so firstly, with Halo 4, you tried an ambitious new concept, which is called Spartan Ops. It's episodic content. Kind of most of the gameplay is using story sections of maps and throwing a ton of enemies at you, and most of the story being told through small video vignettes. Now, what has been the response to this kind of brand new idea?
It's been really good. I think we were pretty clear from the start that this was going to be an experiment for us in terms of different ways to do storytelling in the Halo universe, and also to give campaign fans like more content than they were used to. I think Firefly did something very different, a very arcadey experience, and Spartan Ops was really to scratch the itch that campaign players have after they finish and they're done, right? So they either have to move on to multiplayer or they have to wait till the next game, and so that was really the experiment. We were pretty happy with the results, and we've learned a lot since then.
So, we're obviously moving closer to now more games, and we see a lot of people here, a lot of kids here, probably will never have touched Halo 1, 2, even 3 on the original Xbox 360. Now, Game Insight does a kind of a video game spark notes for Halo to catch them up on this, but is there anything that you see to try and bring them in and kind of make the story less confusing? Are you by establishing maybe a new storyline entirely, or some sort of way to catch them up on what's been going on?
It's a weird balance to strike because the story appeals to people on one hand because it has this really deep, rich lore, and on the other hand it has to be approachable for anybody. It has to be an approachable story for people who've never heard of Halo. And it's really difficult to strike that balance. We had issues with certainly our terminals in Halo 3 and Halo 4 because people love the story in the terminals, but they feel it's too hard to get to. They feel like it's appropriate to the main line of the story. And so striking that balance between giving people a story they can find and explore and just kind of throwing it in their face. And I think we'll be wrestling with that for years to come. But anytime we make extended fiction, things like Forward Unto Dawn or Halo Legends or any of the novels, we try to make those as straightforward as possible. And we also, we insist that you absolutely don't need to know all this stuff to enjoy the games. But it's complaints and criticisms are absolutely valid, but the story is enriched by those things, and so walking that tightrope is actually really pretty difficult.
And speaking of the tightrope, what's your strategic vision for Halo in the next few years? Obviously, trying to keep the legacy of Bungie while establishing the new footprint of 343.
Yeah, that's a tricky balance. Bungie created a game in a universe that, a significant portion of the people behind me are really in love with. And that was our first game, so this was really our first try at it. There's no lack of respect or love for the series. Most of the people in the studio are fans. And so I think it's a fairly complicated philosophical sort of jumping off point where you think, well, we're Halo fans. Are we making a game as fans, or are we making a game as developers? Are we making something for the fans, or are we trying to make our own thing? And ultimately, it's 200 people each putting their fingerprints into a bigger project, and it's tough. I think we're actually really excited about the story we have to tell for the next Halo game and the sort of future of the Master Chief. I think ultimately we'll have our own stamp on it, and people will be used to it being a 343 franchise. But right now we're in that transitional period, and I have to say it's tough. But it's enjoyable, and it's a good challenge.
So, you've just released Halo Spartan Assault on Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8. Do you feel that the PC and the phone should get their own experience and let the console have what we would consider to be the traditional Halo experience? Or is this the gateway to coming back to Halo 1 and Halo 2, which were fully ported to the PC? Were those exceptions, or are we trying to get back to that?
I mean, I'm very much a believer, not so much in devices or screens themselves, but in control method, right? So Spartan Assault is designed to be controlled with your thumbs on a touch screen. So that happens to be, tablets and phones right now. But there's no reason if you had a controller that you couldn't do a 3D FPS experience on a tablet. But you need ubiquity of controls, and we can't rely on everyone having that kind of controller. So it's about suitability of input, and you'll see that. You'll see that going forward with Xbox One. Every single system has a Kinect included, so you're going to see a lot more sort of voice control and things that are appropriate to FPS as that ubiquity of control gets in there. So personally, I don't think of it as device-centric. It's more about input and suitability for that input. So if we make PC stuff in the future, we can rely pretty comfortably that PC owners will have keyboard and mouse. We make it for consoles. We know they have a controller and a Kinect. So you'll see the experience is focused on the input method rather than on the nature of the device itself.
And now the Halo franchise has always been a franchise about showcasing really the new console generation. Xbox, the original, it was Halo CE. With 360, it was Halo 3. Now, using the Xbox One and its advanced kind of online features, what are some of the ways you're trying to really showcase what the Xbox One, the full potentials, beyond kind of just, of course, having the greatest graphics?
I think your question kind of contains as much answer as I can give right now. Bungie did some amazing things for the platform. They introduced matchmaking as we understand on consoles. They didn't invent, but they certainly innovated and finely tuned twin analog stick input, stuff like that. We're taking the same approach. Some of it is opportunistic. You see a device that's attached to the Xbox One. You see the way that the cloud computing works. You see all these features. You take advantage of those, and others problem solving. You're playing a game on a TV. You're playing a game with a controller. How do you adapt, modern shooter dynamics into those things? So we're gonna try our best to be a good citizen on the next console platform and do some really interesting, compelling things, and we already are. Some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes is really, really exciting.
And finally, at E3, we saw Master Chief coming out of the desert like Ben Kenobi from Star Wars. Anything else you could tell us? It's called Halo Xbox One. Going to be the next major installment of the franchise.
We promise a very exciting experience in 2014. I will say one thing about that. Being asked that question over and over and over again. Why is he wearing a cloak? And I'll be honest, he's hiding from something, and you'll find out what that is.
All right, we'll have to leave it at there. Frank O'Connor, thanks so much for sharing your time with us.
My pleasure.